Hello, my loves. So tonight we are talking about the subconscious mind and why a dietitian like myself talks so much about mindset and the subconscious mind. And honestly, you all know probably that I'm a dietitian, but I'm so much more than that. I do fitness coaching, I do women's groups, I do so much more spiritual mindset work than really talking about food. While that is still important, and I think the logical, data, research driven information is still important. I know in my own journey and so many of my clients, it is always a deeper internal disconnect that is usually the root cause of many of our physical manifestations, physical issues. But still, there is such a place for the physical. We are just not going to be touching so much on that today. So, to start out, I really want to quickly define what is the subconscious mind. So, I have a whole bunch of books here with me tonight that I will be briefly bringing up. And the first one I'm bringing up is The Naked Mind, which is really focused on alcohol, but it does talk a lot about subconscious mind. They call it the unconscious mind. I usually say subconscious. These are interchangeable terms. So the unconscious is the part of the mind that a person is not aware of, but that is a powerful force in controlling behavior. The conscious mind is aware of something, such as a fact or a feeling, knowing that something exists or is happening, right? So the unconscious, we are not aware of it, but it is controlling and it is powerful. The conscious, we are aware of it. You know, you are listening to this, you are aware of what day of the week it is, hopefully, and you're aware of those things. Consciousness itself is the condition of being conscious, the quality or state of being aware, especially of something within oneself, the upper level of mental life which the person is aware of as contrasted with unconscious process. Okay, we're not going so much into consciousness tonight, but the unconscious mind is something that drives our emotions and our cravings, which are really what I am focusing on with so many of my clients is not figuring out so much of what is going to be your meal plan. That is the easiest part. Y'all can be going on ChatGPT, figuring out a meal plan, but what is your plan to avoid cravings and not even avoid them? What I do is help people to completely get rid of them. When we can change what we are thinking and believing about the thing we crave, we don't have the craving. We don't have the craving, we don't have the temptation. And I love to also look into what the Bible says about cravings and learning that it talks a lot about them and learning that the spiritual aspect of our being is really one of the main ways we can get out of this cycle of constantly craving things. So, one reading I want to share today is that of John 6:35. It says, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never get hungry again. Whoever believes in me will never be thirsty. That is so beautiful as we are thinking about hunger and thirst and drinking to know that when you can go to God, you can resolve these addictions. I know it's much more complex than that, but that can be so empowering. I've definitely seen in my own life the times that I'm stronger in my faith are the times that I'm going to have less of these cravings. And the times I've been less strong in my faith, I've learned so much, but that's been a time I've really struggled to overcome cravings. I also wanted to look into kind of a few verses maybe that mention the law of attachment. I know that the Bible doesn't actually talk about the spiritual laws, but I love to reference the spiritual laws, like the law of detachment and detaching from things of the world that are controlling us. And so one that I found that I liked is be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. Do not fret when people succeed in their ways. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. Do not fret when people succeed in their ways. So the note that I had about this, which is a psalm, Psalm 37:7, is that when your joy is rooted in divine things, when you can be still, stillness is connecting to the divine energy. And we can make space for stillness when we can also just slow down, slow down in our daily lives, we can find that divine consciousness, we can receive that consciousness, then our desires will transform and be met with divine timing. Stillness helps us to control cravings so much. And cravings themselves are also not a bad thing. We are going to talk a little bit about feminine energy today and how desires and cravings are a good thing to have. But when it comes to healing our physical body, we do not want to be craving sugar. We don't want to be craving alcohol. We don't want to be craving these things, overworking, high stress things too much because we know we can get out of balance. Our body can only tolerate so much of those things that are not meant for our physiology. So I want to get into a couple of the main blocks that I see my clients facing who are struggling with not just food, but other aspects of their wellness. So the first one is that I need to grab my drink. I will be right back. The first one is that there is an outer solution to an inner problem. The next one, people pleasing and fitting in with others keeps me safe. And I'm going to share a story about each one of these. The next one is that skinnier always means healthier. Another one is that sexuality, expression, pleasure are not safe and not important to have in our life. So all of these are things that culture and our oftentimes families, society, just generational things. These are all things that get passed down to us. So first and foremost, it's really important to recognize that it is not your fault if you have a spiritual or a subconscious block. It's not your fault, okay? So releasing the blame, releasing the shame about it, and releasing the regret around the things that you have not yet so figured out, okay? All you can do is start to attain this information. Start to be open and hopeful and positive that you can change these subconscious beliefs. We first need to explore the information. We need to immerse ourselves in different experiences, hear about others' experiences of healing, and that in itself starts to change our subconscious mind. I do believe there are certain times where you get to a point where you just instantly change a belief, you let something go, you create this new cycle, or you release an old cycle, but I also think it's a progressive cycle of getting over a belief, letting go of a toxic habit. So it's going to be progressive. And this is where a time where I think reading and gaining wisdom from books, from podcasts, from mentors is so important. So I do have a quick story about each of those 4 blocks that I just mentioned to hopefully help you think of where maybe these are showing up in your own life. So I think the belief that there is an outer solution to an inner problem is still something I am struggling with. I've gone through a lot of times where I've tried different supplements, different morning and evening routines, different things like acupuncture, like yoga, and these have all been helpful. Do not get me wrong. Those modalities have all been a piece of my healing and are things I will continue to incorporate. But what's really key is that I have realized what are some of those inner problems, right? If I am dealing with stress-driven acne, what I need to do is also set better boundaries and not be a people pleaser and prioritize sleep. Those are internal things. And so going to acupuncture and taking adaptogens to just calm my cortisol is not getting rid of the source of the high cortisol. The next one being the people pleasing one. So I used to really feel that saying yes to everything, being so busy and having so many friends made me feel happy. I thought that. But then I realized it was draining my authenticity. I was always constantly having to go to others to get their opinions about everything. I constantly felt like I had to be with people. And I just didn't have enough time to really focus on learning what I need. I didn't have enough time for self-exploration, which is such a huge aspect of all of this. I think that whatever age you are at, you may not have spent enough time in self-exploration. This can be something you can start and you can continue doing at any point in your life. This is not just for people who are in their early 20s in a single era. Anybody can explore more self-exploration and I think should continue to do so throughout their life. So what I really had to teach myself was that authenticity, being my authentic true self, is safe. That is what brings me the most aligned experiences, relationships, knowledge. That is what truly makes me feel good and safe, not people pleasing. I also had to realize that rest is also safe. Deep, deep rest, being in stillness, doing nothing, saying no to things. That is what actually gives my body this sense of safety. The next one, that skinny always equals healthy. This is a belief that is really, really ingrained in us, especially through the media and the marketing. We are exposed, as you probably have heard, to so much media, so much marketing, so many messages, and we don't even like subconsciously, we just bring a lot of these things in. And so, yeah, most of you have been through the era of diet culture and models being size zero. And yes, it's changing, but it's still there. And I know it's a big reason so many people work with me. And I do think being in a healthy body can mean decreasing body fat. Body fat is pro-inflammatory. It secretes more estrogen. It fosters or like holds more toxins. So yes, it is not something that is always best for our health, but getting women to also want to build muscle and prioritize that is also something that can be really challenging because we think we're going to get big and bulky. And I know that for me, even seeing my body go through some changes where I've gotten smaller, I've gotten more muscle, it's still sometimes I have those triggering beliefs come up that I looked better when I was smaller. So I'm really retraining myself to know that strong is sexy and that when I feel physically stronger, when I get physically stronger, when I do that disciplined work that's even harder, that I also feel a lot more mentally strong and I feel more disciplined in my business, in my relationships. I feel so much more energy and that doing that hard work is, especially when I have it in balance with my other forms of self-care, is really, really healthy for me and really good. Because I know I'm probably predisposed to some insulin resistance. I have Alzheimer's, I have diabetes in my family. I know I've done the blood work to see that mine is already slightly higher than I would like it to be. So I know that I need a lot of muscle on my body to be healthy. Um, and the last one is that sexuality, expression, pleasure are not safe. This largely, I think, lies in the patriarchy that we live in our work hard society, very individualistic, that we don't always prioritize the divine feminine as much as we do the divine masculine in Christianity. So really reading and exploring how my body feels, how my nervous system feels, realizing that the spirit is so interconnected with the divine feminine and the nervous system has been so, so healing for me to start to really embody more of my true, authentic self. And this is work that you can definitely be doing in a relationship, but also when you're not in a relationship. So I hope those stories are aligning and you're kind of thinking through where some of these blocks might come up for you. There are definitely more than just the four I just listed, but those are some that I really see come up regularly in many of my clients. And so I do just want to share a couple of books that I have loved over the years. And that is going to be all for tonight. This is just a quick episode. So in no specific order, just went from smallest book to largest. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This has been one that I'm sure many of you have probably read. It's quite famous, but it's one of the first finance books I read. I haven't read a lot of them, but to really start thinking a little bit differently about how I work, how I spend money, and just thinking about investing in assets. I believe in your 20s, your asset, your health. Your health is your biggest asset. That's what I believe. That's what I practice. That is why I do what I do. I think business, having your own business is amazing. This is not a business podcast, but everything that I am spending my money on is not thinking about my 401k and my retirement fund. It's thinking about my health and thinking about how I'm going to stay out of a nursing home one day. thinking about how I am going to align with the highest possible energy so I can align with the highest possible partners and opportunities in this life because your partner determines a lot of your life. And so if you are going to find one, it better be a really, really freaking good one. So if I need to spend money on things that help me feel confident in dating, I'm gonna do that. Um, the next one is called Goddess Energy. This is by Gabriella Herstick, and I think I finished all of it. Some of it goes into like the different goddesses that throughout history, and those parts are kind of boring to me, but there's also just some parts about what is the divine feminine, about how sexuality can be sacred, about using affirmations, about creating rituals, altars, things that can just be small micro pleasures in your life. And like I said, if you really struggle with pleasure and you struggle with stress, you struggle with intimacy, I think this is a really great starter book to just kind of get you thinking. It has a lot of good journaling prompts. I also really struggle with just free journaling, but when I have prompts and when I can use those, then I do really well with journaling. So, absolutely love that one. Um, I already mentioned The Naked Mind. I'm actually only on like chapter 7 of this one, but I got recommended this one recently in a business training I was in, and it has not disappointed. I've also really been on a journey of drinking less alcohol. So this one, I did not even know when I got it that it talks so much about unconscious mind. And so I absolutely love it. She brings up a lot of research and a lot of neuroscience, but also her own experience and really just how you can get yourself to crave the things that are good for you and how you can really start to realize and accept that giving something up that you think is good for you but isn't can actually bring you so much more joy and is not always as hard as we think it's going to be. It actually can be easy, can be so fun, and can be so worth it. So yeah. Okay, attached. This is a relationship book, talks about attachment styles. Therapist recommended to me, really helpful. You are a human who dates, highly recommend it. Highly recommend that book. Okay, Intuitive Eating, a revolutionary program that works. This is one of the OG intuitive eating books. I also think this is great if you have struggled with dieting. However, you probably know that I am a fan of macro counting. I'm a fan of being aware of what is protein. I do not macro count religiously by any means, but I also just think the act of food as self-care is wonderful. Um, I think that detaching from the need for food to be all about pleasure is so important. Once I've started diving down that path, understanding intuitive eating, understanding detachment, I really start to catch people's language and my own language around food and around things that just make food about treating yourself. When food is not about treating yourself, health is a necessity. It's a respect thing. And so treating yourself with junk food is not respecting yourself. So it's still something I'm unlearning. It's still something I give myself a lot of grace for because I am not going to 100% say no to every single time that there are treats and sugar and things that come up. But these books have taught me so many other things that I can find my own happiness in. And especially that I was actually just reading part of the Goddess Energy one today and how really like self-love, self-lust is giving yourself the love that you desire. Such a big aspect of spirituality. So another one that will flip your thoughts upside down about medicine. I think if you're a woman, it's important to explore birth control, even if you are like, I'm past that. I'm in perimenopause. Maybe you have a child. You have children. I think you should think through these things for your children. Do not make your 14 or 15-year-old daughter have to do this research because she's probably not going to. And that's when women are getting put on birth control. So if you struggled with that, you had bad side effects, please do that work for her. This is not just about you. This work that I do is about changing generations. And it is going to take a long time for medicine to understand that hormonal birth control has risks. I believe it. I believed it from day one. I've seen it. I've heard it. I've worked with hundreds of women who have struggled with these side effects. And read this book, How the Pill Changes Everything by Dr. Sarah Hill. There are others, and start to teach women about fertility awareness methods, about respecting their bodies, and getting them off of birth control as soon as possible. Even if that means it's at 24. That is still way better than 27 or 28. Okay. More time off, the more time your body has to adjust, to detox, to learn how to deal with its natural hormones. And the last one, this one honestly embodies and encompasses every single thing I probably talked about. It's like 10 books in one. It is a thick book. It is an amazing book for any man or woman, honestly, to have. Men, if you care about women in your life, get them this book. Women's Bodies, Women's Wisdom by Christiane Northrup. So yeah, it goes through so much. And while I would love for you to have these books, read these books, I would also love to support you in this journey, to mentor you, to guide you. I do a lot of different things in the women's health space. I also work with any humans that reach out to me if it is a good fit. It's not just for women, but I do really prioritize creating those long-term partnerships because I think that dietitians and wellness is just so much more than a couple of consults in your entire life. And I don't think primary care is doing it. So I am creating what I envision healthcare is becoming. And so it's here, it's group, it's individual, it's virtual, it's whatever you need. It is really honestly evolving into that. And I know that sounds so vague, but let me explain a little bit further what I actually have going on right now. So right now I'm doing appointments through insurance, through Nourish. So that is on my website and my Instagram bio. Not everybody will get insurance coverage, but many people will. That's a great place to start if you are focused on food and habits. It can be a form of accountability. However, I also have my Flourish membership, which is a much deeper, more immersive form of accountability and guidance and community with other women on this path. We do events that actually get you to take the step to do the things like meditate, clear your subconscious beliefs, talk about emotions, build intimate community with others. And you, of course, also have the guidance from me. I also run functional labs for my clients who are ready for that. If you are not ready for that, if you've not done the work to learn about your mind, learn about your habits, learn about fitness, I would really encourage you to start there and to have those things in place. However, I do see a place for starting with labs when your symptoms are so severe. Usually in that case, I would be also working alongside other forms of medicine. Highly encourage you to also go to conventional medicine to get checked out for any health concerns that you have. But most people that come to me are getting very little help and guidance from conventional medicine because a lot of women I see are in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. So they're not yet chronically diseased. They don't have chronic disease yet. I also have my app and my Strong Her community. So the Strong Her community is within my app. It is a group message for encouragement, for questions, for chatting about our monthly challenges. So I'm picking something usually spiritual, mental health focused as a small challenge. And again, this is to give you some more of a guidance. So you're not just like how I said with journaling, you're not just free journaling, you have prompts, you have a topic, you have this ongoing thing to continue coming back to. My app is not free, it is $19.99 a month. So that also kind of gives you an incentive to continue working with this. I know that for me, if I'm paying for something, I will be much more likely to actually use it than if it is saying I'm going to do free meditations on YouTube. So I provide strength training, I provide my recipes in there. It's such a comprehensive tool for that cost. So I would love for you to check it out. And lastly, I'm doing a summer workshop series called Reclaim Your Spark. So I will be holding a workshop in July, in August, and in September. They're all going to be the same. I mean, you're welcome to come to all of them, but they will all be sold separately. And the topic, Reclaim Your Spark, is really going to be diving deeper into a lot of these books, things I talked about tonight, and really helping you to understand and identify what blocks you have, as well as go through the meditations and the belief clearings with you. I think that it's so much more powerful to do these things live because you're really going to show up. You're going to have the energy of myself and whoever else is there to support you in this. You're going to be able to ask questions, you're going to be able to engage, and you're going to do all of that within a shorter time period. It's going to be kind of a fast-tracked healing process because you do it all within a few days. So I would love for you to check it out. If you do ever choose to become a member, events like and workshops like that will be included in your membership as well. Lastly, also, I'm starting to do some in-person workouts in Des Moines. So excited for that. If you live in the Des Moines area, reach out to me about that. So that is all I have for you all tonight. I love you so much. Thank you for tuning in. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening.